public schools because it mentions what our forefathers declared, that we have been endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. That we got a right to pursue happiness, and we got a right to develop our talents. We have a right to develop that which will make our life full, that which will cause our life to be successful. Most people today, most young people, most children are looking at a very bleak future. Why? Because we've taught them that. Now, religion has declared the only answer we have, that the world is going to come to an end, or many of them, that the world is going to come to an end in 2012 on, I think they said December the 12th, 2012. I'm proud that they got it just before my birthday. But what nonsense. The only answer you've got to give to God's people is that he's going to destroy that which he said belonged to his children. How did we get so confused? How did we get so mixed up? Because we have had pseudo intellectuals to tell us what reality is instead of by faith we understand. Astronomers are having to now revise their theory of how that it all started. Astronomy is the science of the stars, planets, and all other heavenly bodies, dealing with their composition, motion, and relative positions. Astrophotography as used in investigating astronomical phenomena. A lot of big words, hard to pronounce. Phenomenology, the branch of a science that classifies and describes its phenomena without any attempt at metaphysical explanation. Distinguished from ontology. Ontology, the nature of being. Metaphysics, Aristotle's first principle seeks to explain the nature of being or reality and the origin and stature of the world of the nature of knowledge. Nature, the essential character of a thing, quality or quality, that makes something what it is. Evolutionist, a person who believes in the theory of evolution. Now that all must change again. It has changed many, many times since Darwin went to Australia and came back. Darwin was the son of a Methodist minister. Whenever he came back and said that there's certain evolution that takes place among the species. Now I want to tell you this morning that if you have intelligence, if you're capable of understanding, there is not any contradiction between science and faith in God. Science is based on a theory. A theory is based on a supposition that there's certain evidence that this could be right. So now we are in a quandary, we're in a problem of what do we do? So most of us just give up, so I can't understand all that garble. Too much effort to understand what we're talking about. Out here, astrophotography, taking pictures. Have you ever looked at Discovery Channel and watched those space go through there and taking all that magnificent, all the stars, the galaxies of stars, and they say multi-millions and millions and millions of light years? Now, when I was a kid, my mom and daddy took me to the Tabernacle Baptist Church on 17th and N Street in Lubbock, Texas, and I didn't like going to church. Preacher didn't have anything to tell me that I wanted to hear. So by the time I was about 10 years old, I'd already turned it all off because everything Dr. Ben D. Johnson was preaching, that didn't matter to me, didn't have anything to do with me. Until he preached a message one time on there's an all-seeing eye watching you. And by the time I was about 10 years old, until I was nearly 21 years old, I thought there was a God up in heaven, that he was mad at me. He didn't like me. I wasn't living up to his expectations, and he was sitting up there just ready to slap me down. But one day I found faith in God. Not fear of God, but faith in God. And whenever I came to an understanding and knowledge of knowing, yet it's not a theory, because by faith we understand. Science has a few things that they tie together. If you ever go to the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C., I used to preach there quite often there, and one of the head carpenters that was a member of the People's Church that I preached, he had a PhD, and he was the head carpenter at Smithsonian. He asked me one day, he said, would you like to go with me to the Smithsonian? I said, well, I've already been through it, with my wife and my children and all this. No, would you really like to see it? Well, I said, certainly. So we got up early one morning, and we went through about 8 or 10 buildings all day long. And he showed me how that they put these exhibits together and where they come from. And whenever you go to the humanists, the exhibition of the evolution of man coming up from the slime into the Homo sapien bipedal that we are, he showed me the great dinosaurs. He said, this one is made out of a neck bone, an ankle bone, and a whole lot of imagination. This is what we think that it happened. The Bible doesn't disagree with that, because there's a difference between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. See, America is in a problem because we are no longer responsible people. We want someone else to be responsible for our safety. We want someone else to be responsible for our health. Our government is getting so benevolent now that they're going to sanction how much sugar that we can use on the table and how much salt we can put in our food. Now, personally, I think they've gone a little above board. They should tell us that we're responsible for our own behavior. No one else is going to be responsible, or should be responsible, except you. Amen. So we, by faith, believe that God has created the heavens and the earth. Now, listen to what we are doing in America today. Roy Ashburn, a friend of mine, been a friend of mine, and a long time, and he came out, he was homosexual. Everybody very close to him knew he was a long time before, including the 2 wives he had. Now he's coming out with a book, and we're glorifying homosexuality as an alternative lifestyle. That doesn't really matter to me. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you go in, close your bedroom door, and you climb the walls, as far as I'm concerned. But we have got to the place to where that we are taking and calling light dark and dark light. We are changing until we don't even know what is truth and what is error. We can't even take a good definition of a good English word and remain true to it. We have got to take and warp it and wrestle it and twist it. According to Webster, marriage is a state of being married. Now, my wife, God willing, of course this morning was kind of thin, but God willing, she's going to celebrate the 2nd of January, 55 years of heaven on earth. And I guess she'll let me celebrate it with her, but it's called marriage. Now, if you're going to have a family, how can you have a stable family? Oh, well, we're going to get our government check. I got news for you. I'm an old man, and God's more faithful than the government. Amen. I've lived through 13 presidents, and they all lie, including Abraham Lincoln. And when they write their memoirs, you know, one of the first things they say, including George Bush's book that just came out, I wasn't really certain about anything.